Welcome to Crime Unveiled, where we explore the world's most chilling mysteries and controversial cases. Today, we unravel the harrowing story of the West Memphis Three, a case that sent shockwaves through the nation and continues to haunt the public imagination. It's a tale of three innocent boys brutally murdered, three teenagers wrongfully convicted, and a justice system that failed everyone involved. Was it a rush to judgment or something more sinister? Stay with us as we delve deep into the details of this disturbing case. It all began on May 5, 1993, in the quiet town of West Memphis, Arkansas. Three 8-year-old boys, Steve Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers, set out on their bicycles to explore their neighborhood. By nightfall, when they hadn't returned home, their parents grew frantic. Police were called and a search began. The next day, a horrifying discovery was made in a wooded area known as Robin Hood Hills. The boys' bodies were found submerged in a shallow creek, naked and bound with their own shoelaces. The scene was gruesome, with injuries that suggested they had suffered unimaginable violence. Rumors of satanic rituals quickly spread, igniting a moral panic. The fear and urgency to solve the case put immense pressure on the West Memphis Police Department. Within weeks, investigators turned their attention to three local teenagers, Damian Eccles, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Miskelly. The trio were social outcasts. Damian had a reputation for being interested in the occult. Jason was his quiet and artistic best friend, and Jesse, who had a low IQ, was easily influenced. In the minds of the authorities, they fit the profile of satanic killers, a concept heavily fueled by the satanic panic of the 1980s and 1990s. But was there any actual evidence linking them to the crime? The answer shockingly was no. What sealed their fate was a confession from Jesse Miskelly. After hours of relentless and coercive interrogation, Jesse gave a statement implicating himself, Damian, and Jason in the murders. However, his confession was riddled with inconsistencies and factual inaccuracies. Jesse, who had an IQ of 72, later recanted, saying he had been pressured and confused during questioning. Despite this, his confession became the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. The trial was a media spectacle. Prosecutors painted the three teenagers as devil-worshipping outcasts who had carried out the murders as part of a satanic ritual. Damian, seen as the ringleader, was particularly vilified for his goth appearance and interest in alternative beliefs. The jury convicted all three. Damian was sentenced to death, Jason received life without parole, and Jesse was given life plus 40 years. For many, the case seemed closed, but for others, it was the beginning of a long fight for justice. As the years went on, the flaws in the case became impossible to ignore. There was no physical evidence tying Damian, Jason, or Jesse to the crime. The injuries initially attributed to a satanic ritual were later determined to be consistent with animal predation. The confession from Jesse was proven to have been coerced, and new DNA testing revealed that none of the evidence collected from the crime scene matched the three convicted teens. Instead, a hair found in the bindings of one of the victims was linked to Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of Steve Branch. This revelation cast a new shadow over the case, but it also raised more questions than it answered. The public's perception of the case began to shift thanks to documentaries like Paradise Lost, The Child Murders at Robin Hood Hills. These films exposed the inconsistencies in the investigation and prosecution, sparking a movement to free the West Memphis Three. Celebrities like Johnny Depp, Eddie Vedder, and Peter Jackson joined the cause, raising awareness and funding for legal efforts to overturn the convictions. In 2011, after nearly 2 decades behind bars, Damian, Jason, and Jesse were released from prison. They entered offered pleas, a legal mechanism that allowed them to assert their innocence while acknowledging that the prosecution had enough evidence to convict them. It was a bittersweet moment. While they were finally free, their convictions remained on record, and the real killer or killers of Steve, Michael, and Christopher had never been brought to justice. The case of the West Memphis Three remains one of the most controversial and polarizing in true crime history. It highlights the dangers of moral panic, the flaws in our justice system, and the devastating consequences of a rush to judgment. For the families of the victims, there is no closure. For Damian, Jason, and Jesse, freedom came at a tremendous cost. And for the town of West Memphis, the scars of this tragedy will never fully heal. To this day, questions linger. Did the police overlook critical leads in their eagerness to close the case? Was Terry Hobbs more involved than he admitted? And why, with all the advancements in forensic technology, has this case never been truly resolved? These are the mysteries that keep the story of the West Memphis Three alive in the public consciousness. Thank you for watching Crime Unveiled. If you have theories about this case, we want to hear them. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into the world's most haunting mysteries. Together, we can shine a light on the truth and keep these stories from being forgotten.